Sometimes I'm asked what was the hardest part about taking on the transatlantic rowing race. Well, oddly, it's not the sharks or the storms, or the seat gnawing away at your backside, or never sleeping more than an hour at a time. In fact, it's nothing to do with the race itself. The hardest, most painful task that requires the most tenacity and resilience happens before you leave shore. It's raising the sponsorship. You're spending thousands and thousands of dollars as you burn through your savings paying to get the boat built and buy equipment. And so you're desperately knocking on doors day after day to keep the dream alive, but you keep hearing no after no after no. Top tip: if you're lucky enough to get a sponsorship meeting with Bell Tea and the CEO asks you if you'd like tea or coffee, the correct answer isn't coffee. With all the setbacks I was having, I started to get very down on myself. And I'm not the only one. When you're having knock after knock, it's really easy to blame yourself, to really unhelpfully stick the boot in, to obsess about your mistakes and get lost in doubt. That's what happened to me. But then I was very lucky. I came across this technique that helped me process setbacks a bit faster and allowed me to get some perspective, just enough to hang in there. It didn't solve my problems, but it allowed me to get my head back in the game. Because when you have a setback, there's a process you are going to go through. You start off in your happy place and then you get knocked down into the well of despair with the sharks of self-loathing, and then you reflect, you reframe, you reconsider, and slowly you float back up to the top until you feel something like normal again. You know that depending on what put you down there, you could go down very deep and spend a lot of time with the sharks before you do finally float back up to the top. Well, what if there was another way to deal with setbacks? Wouldn't it be great if you could speed things up a bit, not go down quite so deep, get through it a lot faster, and possibly even stick it to the shark on the way through? There is a way, and here's how it works. If I were to ask you why you were feeling bad, you could definitely tell me why. For example, my customers have stopped calling. I don't have any money. You've just insulted me and now I'm offended. Something has happened to cause you to react. You have reasons for how you feel. Reasons based on facts. Well, actually, it can't be the facts. I mean, it's not the sound waves from your voice that is causing the offence, unless you're shouting. Those sound waves had to get turned into meaning inside my brain. So, strictly speaking, it's my interpretation of the facts that's causing this emotion. But surely, there's only one possible interpretation of the facts. You know, if my son has just flushed my iPhone down the loo, or I've just lost my job, or I've just got a duck in the final of the Cricket World Cup, there's only one way to feel. You'd have to be insane to be anything other than miserable, right? Well, there might only be one way, but it seems unlikely. Have you ever been in a situation where other people in exactly the same circumstances as you are having a completely different reaction? Here's a little exercise to go through that will help you test and challenge that white-knuckle death grip that you have on the sacred rightness and the uniqueness of the story that you're telling yourself about what has just happened, the story that is creating your emotions. Here's how it works. If you've just had a setback, there's only 3 questions that you are asking yourself right now that determine how bad you feel. Who's to blame? How long will it last? And how big a deal is it? And for each of these 3 questions, the answer tends to lie on an axis from it was all me to I was just a part of it, from this too shall pass to this is going to last forever, from everything has gone wrong to it's just this one little thing that's gone wrong, the rest of my life is fine. Let's test it out. Think of something that has gone wrong and then say to yourself, it's all my fault, it's always going to be this way, and it's a huge deal. I guarantee that you will feel worse. And if you are feeling bad about something right now, then you're almost certainly thinking about one or more of those things. I'm to blame, my situation is totally effed up, permanently. Here's the clever bit. Without changing any of the facts, you can very often choose an interpretation that is equally as true, but that is more to the right-hand side. Because very often you are just a part of it, this too shall pass, and you still have a great family, you still have great work, colleagues, you still have your health and all your skills and capabilities that you had before. You still live in a great country. So next time something goes wrong, try asking yourself 3 different questions. Firstly, how much did I personally control the outcome? Well, I'm guessing if your problem is to do with COVID-19, there's nothing you did. Next question. Number 2, will it still be a big deal in a year's time? Don't ask yourself, is this a big deal? Because the answer in the moment is always clear, yes. The question is, based on your experience of life, will you still be feeling this way with this intensity in a year's time? You know you've been through some huge speed bumps in your life that have absolutely rocked your world at the time, that have long since receded into the rear view mirror. Now you might be thinking that this time it's different. Well, if that's what you think, consider this. In the long run, it's very likely your happiness will return to average. Studies have shown that even the happiness levels of lotto winners come back to normal. Even people who've become paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair, they definitely go through a period where life loses its charm. But eventually, even their everyday happiness rebounds. Movies often end with the theme music soaring, everybody happy, the emotions at their peak, and freeze frame. Then slow fade out to black, roll the credits, and you waft out of the cinema on a high. We know life doesn't work like that. If they're riding off into the sunset now, it means they'll be setting up camp in the dark with a sore ass. That romantic couple might be snogging in the rain now, but next week they'll be sorting out the recycling and arguing about the dishes. On average, life returns to average. Are you doing the same thing with the image in your head about how bad things are or going to get? Are you stopping at the worst possible moment? If so, don't stop there. Keep playing the movie out. What happens then? What happens then? Next, can you be absolutely sure what has just happened is a bad thing? Caveat here, if the answer is yes, you know if that applies to you, then go to the next point. But otherwise, can I suggest that you won't actually know how this shakes out for a while, perhaps quite a while. You've had this happen before. You've had a good employee quit, only to be replaced, only to have them replaced by someone even more capable. You've broken up with someone only to meet your future partner. You've lost your job only to get a better job. There will be opportunities that come out of this. So is this a huge setback, or is it the time you pivoted your business and your career? Only time will tell. Finally, how much of the rest of my life is unaffected? How much of the rest of your life is unaffected by what's just happened? Do you still have great kids, a great partner, great work, colleagues, great business connections, great mates? Can you think for a moment about all the things that you have achieved to get to this point? You won't want to, of course, because successful people like yourselves almost always focused on the tip of the spear, on the bit that's going wrong and needs all your attention. But sometimes it can be helpful to think about everything that you've achieved, all the obstacles that you've overcome to get to this point, and all the things that you've learned to get here, because you're going to carry them with you into the future. Let me put it another way. How would you rate your situation at the moment out of 10, with 0 being complete and 10 being couldn't be better? Have you got a number? Okay. Now, why didn't you choose a lower number? No, really, why didn't you choose a lower number? Is it because some things in your life are still great? You've still got a platform that you can build from? Look, what I'm saying is, if you feel like the garbage truck of life is backing you up and crushing you against a wall, then try asking yourself these 3 questions to give yourself some breathing room. How much did I personally control the outcome? Will it still be as big a deal in 12 months' time? How much of the rest of my life is unaffected? Now, this technique didn't solve my problems. They stayed exactly the same. But it helped turn the stress down from 11 and got me breathing through my nose. It gave me some altitude, and some perspective. I was facing a big problem still, that was true. But just like all the other big problems that I'd faced, and I could see that, and that I'd overcome them, at least moved through them or past them in my life. It stopped me obsessing about the worst case so that I could keep persevering and knocking on doors and trying to find the money. I figured it didn't matter how many no's I got, I just needed to get a couple of yeses. And then, out of the blue one day, it happened. The money came in, I was on my way, and my life hasn't been the same since.